The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
Out here at Fargo, Zac Dominguez, kind of a friendly face you see both styles through here, as you call it, Frico season. Out of Nebraska, Zac, how many Fargos is this for you, first of all?
Let's see, 1993 to now is 23 or 24 years in a row, competing and coaching.
Nobody has done math very well this year. This is my 21st. I started in 99, so add six to that. So 26, 27 years. Yeah, it's quite a while.
Yeah, it's I love it. It's like a Mecca summit. It's a pilgrimage. Everybody makes a pilgrimage, and I just can't stop making the pilgrimage.
And you've been a guy that's been proficient in all styles, including your international career and then your college wrestling career, and all. Your family name is known around this part of the country, of course, in Nebraska. And what's it like to come back to this tournament every year with a fresh crop of kids and learning both styles of freestyle and Greco?
I love it. Right, every year you get to see what your worth is. Right, and I think a lot of times. You build it up a little too much. Sometimes you don't build it up enough. But we learn a lot about who our kids are and what we've done right, what we've done wrong, what we need to improve on, things of that nature. And I like this as a developmental tournament. It's not developmental in terms of our level of wrestling, but in our coaches and then our younger kids that are, the 2 and 2s, the 3 and 2s. So we can really try to grow them by the time they're a senior and give them a good shot at making a medal here.
What is the wrestling culture like? How would you explain it in Nebraska for people who maybe are from the East Coast and don't really have their pulse on what's going on out here in the Midwest?
I think if you're on either coast, you think you own the culture. But to be honest with you, we're a blue-collar family in Nebraska, and we just grind it out, right? We sit next to Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, Kansas, Missouri. We border them all. And, selfishly, we get to travel, and I can visit 6 or 7 states in 6 hours. I can get my kids lots of matches, see lots of different talents, lots of different coaches, and it's great. Our culture is growing. I remember when I first took over the job in Nebraska, we had 9. Now we have 60 here. So it's growing. It's a good thing.
Again, blue collar in some parts of the country, summertime is for prepping for farm work, is prepping for that real blue collar stuff. How have you been able to convince not just the kids but the parents to say, all right, look, let us have your summers for freestyle and Greco?
I just ask for small moments in time, and I show them the experience. I like to sell the why, not what or how. Like, well, what'd you get or how'd you do it? I love saying why. It's a growth experience for these kids, why they should be here, what they're going to see. Why? What coaches are here? Why it's so important? The travel, the camaraderie, the time spent here, the knowledge. It just all belongs in the why. Why it's important to be here. And I think over 26 years, 27 years, I've gotten really good at selling the why. And they all seem to think that I have a good point of view, so I don't complain.
Speaking back on that culture, where you've got it's a very diverse type of wrestling community in Nebraska. You've got a lot of the population centers around Omaha and Lincoln, and then you've got kids from Scottsbluff, you got kids from North Platte, you got kids from Gering, you got kids from these little tiny towns all through the western part of the state. How do you basically coordinate getting those kids, the farm kids and the city kids, on the same page with a lot of things?
It's tough. With our junior director, we were talking about that. We're trying to gather more coaches on the western side of Nebraska now, for reasons of that nature, to gather more kids. We're trying to put a training center out west in the Shadron, North Platte, somewhere area. So if we can get somebody there once a week, at least we can get groups of kids together, groups of coaches. But it is tough, right? You're going to have your cattle out there, your farms, your pig farmers, and it's tough. They have real-life jobs, and that's their experience out there. So I've made the trip a couple times where, as a state, we're trying to get more of our eastern coaches out to the western side just to show them, hey, this is why it's good. And it's starting to work. We have, I think, 14 kids from West of Kearney here. So we're growing that number ever so slowly, but we're growing it. So to me, that's what's important.
when you come across a kid that might be real raw, and we talk about it as almost as a cliche when you're from this part of the country, farm boy strength, farm boy. Explain what it is, and when you get your hands on a kid that's like, okay, this guy's legit farm boy strong.
So if you ever get grabbed by a farm boy strength, you will feel weak by comparison. He grabs you. It's not so much that he's moving you, it's how he grabs you. Like grabbing a bull, grabbing a bale of hay. When he grabs you and you don't move, you start thinking to yourself, what did I just get myself into? So you gotta wear him out a little bit, run away a little bit. But when you do get a raw talent in like that, all you want to do is help grow it and show it as much technique, give it as much possibility, show him the path that says, hey, you can do this because you've already got this set of skills.
Dialing it down to your club, MWC, you're throwing the Freako world, the freestyle Greco line out there for quite a bit. I think you've quite patented the term, and some people are borrowing it with your blessing. But explain where your club sits in and where you sit in specifically, and how you think your role in the state of Nebraska and nationally has been, to help grow the sport, a lot. And you favor Greco slightly more, I would believe.
This is true. I do love my Greco. But don't get me wrong, freestyle's still good. But I love Greco. But my club serves as a good training center. If I can get kids that can travel in, they're always more than welcome to come train. New partners, new faces are always great. I created a hub between Lincoln and Omaha so that we can just magnetize a little bit more, right? Give everybody a good feeling about, hey, let's train together, let's build, let's get strong. And I was a part of a thing that happened 20 years ago over on the southwest side of Iowa when Keith Massey was running it. We called it The Building, where Trent and Travis Paulson came from, my brother came from, Dalton Jensen, coaches all across the state of Nebraska were part of that hub. And that's essentially what I tailored it off of. I wanted the same thing. So I've been trying to grow the culture via the club and just not mass producing, but trying to mass produce more coaches so that we can have more athletes that are being coached by good coaches. So I do a lot of coach work in my club. We run a system, and if they come in for a year and they go out to a different club, I have no problem with it. I just want them. I want them to be better when they're there, so that the kids get there and they are comfortable. They can show them good stuff. They can give good skills, good techniques, and grow wherever they're at in a good way.
So I guess one of the other questions you get is, how many Dominguez brothers are there?
There's three total, but the gap between me and my youngest brother is 10 years. So people will probably think that was my cousin or my nephew. But we do have another one coming up by the name of Cruiser Dominguez. That is my nephew. He's 10 years old. And he's got a real knack for freestyle, unfortunately. And I think I'm going to have to sway him to the Greco side, but he really loves his freestyle. So we'll be on the lookout for him coming up.
Not to bring up some sore subjects in the state of Nebraska, but I was talking to some Virginia coaches a couple days ago about when Longwood College dropped wrestling, a Division II school in Virginia. That was where a lot of our high school teachers came from. They wrestled Division II. They would end up being PE teachers and just general teachers, and that's where a lot of our high school coaches came from. It wasn't from the power D1 All-Americans. It was from the guys at the D2 school. Nebraska Omaha provided a lot of coaches for the Omaha, Lincoln, and even the surrounding states. How much do you think that that's still hurting the state, and how hard is that to try to rebuild the coaching ranks based on not having that program there anymore?
We're still in a deficit. Until we can get another program, I don't know if it'll ever come back to UNO, but if Bellevue University or Creighton University could pick it up, it would be wonderful. But I don't think we'll ever grow out of that hole. It left such a big hole that I don't think it will ever fill itself in. It might grow a little bit, but with Mike Denny not being there and the amount of coaches and athletes that he produced and took under his wing, it's impossible to think that we could ever fill that gap. I think if we could get back some wrestling in Omaha, it would help in the college world. But until that happens, I'll never coach at a university or high school because I can't be a winner and then get told we're no good, you got to go. And that's why I always stick to the private side of the clubs.
Cramming in the cadet semis here, and juniors just started up today. You've sitting there gotten to watch. How many kids are you actually actively coaching in this session right here, and how hectic is it for you right now?
It's very hectic. Luckily, I have 7 coaches here from my staff. We have 20 kids that we're coaching. We just have one in for third for cadets, one in for fifth, and we have I think 11 or 12 on the front side right now, hitting around 32 in junior Greco.
Yeah, and again, how important is it to see when you see these kids, the eyes open, you see there's 25 mats. They've never been in a facility this big for wrestling. The importance of, wow, I could actually do something in this sport beyond, what is the Century Link Center now, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's important because this by far would dwarf any state tournament. And then but it's still the same. It's the old Hoosiers, right? You go out, you measure the mat, show them that it's never different. It's always the same. It just happens to be more people. But when it's just you and the other wrestler and your coach in the corner, it's the same scenario over and over and over. Never changes. Thank you. Yep.
Zac Dominguez, always a pleasure. You always got some things rolling in the brain, rolling around in there, trying to make the sport better, doing good jobs with MWC there. And thanks for stopping by, man.
Thank you for having me, Brian. Appreciate it.
The Short Time Wrestling Podcast is proudly outfitted by Compound Clothing. Shirts, singlets, custom gear orders, everything you need. Call up Cliff and the crew at cmpteamwear.com. Hey, you know what? Did you like the show? You want to hit that subscribe button? MatTalkOnline.com/listen. Various different ways to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcatcher of choice. And if you're already subscribed, you already listened, and you love the show, and you want to support this show and this network, MatTalkOnline.com/join the team. Become a team member today.